So how does this impact your nutrient absorption? In quite a few different ways. Every time you turn on the stress response, your body prioritizes getting you out of the stressful situation. In order to do that, it's going to turn off other things it doesn't necessarily need in that moment. Part of who makes that decision is your brain and your nervous system. And your nervous system says, I have two choices. I can be in fight or flight or rest and digest. Those are the only two modes your nervous system has. And it cannot be in both modes at the same time. Fight or flight, rest or digest. Whoops, got a telephone call that somebody's in trouble. I'm going to turn on fight or flight. Who cares about that blueberry muffin you were just eating? You're not going to need those nutrients if we don't get you out of harm's way first. I'll come back to you later. Digestion gets turned off. If you understand that digestion that's not working, because the more you trip the stress response, the more you're turning off digestion. Digestion that doesn't work is one of the contributors to your internal burden of stress, which now drives the whole thing long term. Yeah. There's also blood flow that slows down to the digestive tract. So if you happen to be digesting in that moment, you're not going to be able to get the nutrients into your system as well. You're going to have troubles assimilating the nutrients, getting it into your system. The blood flow goes to your heart, to your brain, and to your muscles, so you can have the energy you need to get out of harm's way. Forget about trying to get the calcium and the vitamin C and the phosphorus from the blueberries and the muffin with the chia seed that you just ate. Yeah, who cares? Sorry. Like, it doesn't matter. The blood flow is in other areas of the body. Now you start to reduce how much you can get of those nutrients into your system. What are those nutrients? That are the ingredients you need in your recipes. Yep. So the more you turn on this stress response, the more your digestion is impacted, the more the blood flow slows to that digestive system, the more your microbiome shifts. Stress is registered 0.1 seconds after a stressful event to completely alter your microbiome in a millisecond. Your microbiome is that collection of bacteria, fungi, and yeast that reside at the gut level. They are kind of that forgotten organ, if you will, and they do a lot of work to help enhance how you function. They help you digest. They help reduce inflammation. They give you some of those ingredients you need for the recipes in your body, some of those ingredients you need for the stress response. When you shift that microbiome, now you're even having a harder time getting those nutrients you need to get you through the stress response. So over time, the more you turn on the stress response, the more you make the stress response come on sooner and sooner, and the longer it stays locked in that on position. Another thing that stress does, your GI tract gets impacted, and it drives what's called leaky gut, which is permeability at the intestinal lining. So quick 101 on this. Your intestinal lining is one cell thick. Those cells are supposed to be nice and tight together. But what happens in the stress response, where the stress is turns on inflammation in the body. Inflammation makes the cells of your intestinal tract swell, and those junctions between your cells are now further apart. And that is leaky gut. When the cells are further apart, more of the bigger particles that typically wouldn't have made it through before, they can now get into your system, and they add to what your liver has to clean up and move out. Stuff that wasn't supposed to make it into your system is now in your system. Whoops. Yeah. And leaky gut is that ground zero of where the troubles for inflammation in the body begin. So the more you turn on the stress response, the more you're actually turning on that leaky gut and driving that, which now drives a lot of symptoms down the line. So your ability to absorb with this leaky gut situation is increasing. So the more your intestinal cells are apart, the less you can make some of those important enzymes in your gut. Those enzymes help break things down like histamine, for example. If your gut is leaky and permeability is set up, you can't make those enzymes. And now, if you were originally able to break down that histamine, it wouldn't be an issue. But now that you have leaky gut, you can't break it down. That histamine gets into your system and now drives your symptoms. That's only one of the examples. There's many other examples. So when stress is on, nutrient absorption goes right down, and your flow of things you can't, I suppose we could call them toxins, but I feel like it's a war. There's a flood of more things into your system for your immune system to handle. That's what happens in this scenario. So now the amount of cleanup you have to do goes up. So when you have an amount of cleanup that goes up, that adds to your internal burden of stress as well.